You are tuning into the podcast series, We Talk Cyber with Monica, a platform for engaging discussions and expert opinions on all things cyber. Check out more information on monicatalkscyber.com. Welcome to the podcast series, and let's hop right into today's episode.
Hi everyone, welcome to yet another fantastic episode of We Talk Cyber with Monica. I'm your host Monica Verma, and today we're joined by a fantastic woman who has worked in cybersecurity for more than a decade, and she is really the authority on cyber resilience. So we'll be talking with her about cyber resilience today. Welcome to the show, Hanne. How are you doing?
Thank you, Monica. I'm doing well after a good holiday. And thank you for inviting me here.
Lovely to have you on the podcast, Hanne. Would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Yes. As you said, my name is Hanne Tangen Nilsen. I'm working in Telenor Norway. I've been the Chief Security Officer there for almost 10 years. It's 9.5 years. And now I moved to another position, Security Director for Business Development in Security. So I'm not trying to, I built up a lot of capability in Telenor Norway, and now I'm trying to make services out of that for our customers, both in Norway, but also in the Nordic and maybe international.
Fantastic. Let's start by defining what is cyber resilience.
When you asked that question, I was thinking it's not, maybe it's several definition of that, but my definition is having the ability to resist and or stand in a security incident or with a threat over time, and especially without affecting the business and the organization. So it's building resilience to actually be able to handle the incident. Meanwhile, the organization can do what it normally do. Of course, maybe with some impact. But
So the key really is to minimize the impact while keeping business operations continued, right?
Yes. That differs from a operational incident, which is normally something you need to fix rather immediately. But a security incident, you might have to stand for over a time of a period before you have fixed it. So that differs when it comes to resilience also, and what you need to build.
Right. So it's the containment might be needed to be very quick, whereas the fixing the root cause of it will obviously take time and could be depending on what really the problem was and what impact did it have on the organization and such.
That's right.
So after having defined cyber resilience, let me ask you, what do you believe are the key elements to build a good cyber resilient organization?
Well, that is a lot of things, and it's a big question. I think for the first, when it comes to security, you need to have for your organization a security strategy. You need to have a governance function. You need to have top management anchoring. And you need to have and understand what you have to build in and which step, because the resilience isn't done over time. It impacts your processes, your people, your systems. So it's an overall understanding of the approach you need to take. Defining roles, defining mandates. And you also need to understand what type of business you are, and if you can, what you can solve for yourself and what you need support from. If you might have outsourced parts of your systems and infrastructure, you might have to also understand what you can buy when it comes to incident handling and resilience from your vendor.
So talking about outsourcing and what services you can buy, you bring me to a good segue to my next question, which is, if you're thinking about cyber resilience, obviously the SOC Services and Security Operations Center, or the CERT in itself, plays an important role. Could you say in a few words what are the key, what is a Security Operations Center? What is a CERT? First, let's start with that.
And that was also, I think, Security Operational Center has several definitions. In Telenor Norway, we have a SOC, and that is for security monitoring. And they do that. They monitor, and they detect, and they do initial triage, and then they send it to the CERT, which are more of the analyst function. And that is our definition in a very. So when you do security operation, you also need interaction with IT. Some will have that in the security operational center, and some will have it in IT. So that depends on the way you have organized it. But a key function you also need to fix things. And sometimes it's closer to the IT department and closer to the vendor than in the SOC.
So you were talking a bit about the outsourcing, and now we've talked a bit about, okay, what is a SOC and what is CERT in general. What would you say is an important criteria for a business to understand and assess based on their needs if they should be building SOC internally or they should be outsourcing the SOC and the CERT services?
Well, it depends. I think it's a lot on the size of your company and then again on the size of your infrastructure and your systems. It also depends on how much you have outsourced. But building a SOC and a CERT, that costs a lot. It is not a fix you can do in a second. It means resources. It means that you have to build competence over time, systems over time, the processes. You have to have a long-standing anchoring that you actually need to do it over time. And that is also something you have to wait. Maybe it's a better solution sometimes to buy as a service rather than fix it and build it yourself. But it depends on your responsibility in terms of your company's responsibility towards taking care of your systems. And what kind of regulation you are under also. It might be that you are regulated, that you need to do it yourself. But I think that parts of the SOC and the CERT, a lot of it you can actually buy. But you always have to build internal organization too. It's not totally outsourced. You have to have internal organization to manage what the SOC gives you of information, and that you can handle on the information, that you know your own infrastructure, because the responsibility lies with you no matter what. You cannot outsource the responsibility. Even though it's a service and it's a detection capability, it supports you, the CERT will support you, but you have to be organizing the incident handling and handle it and manage it. So it's a lot of questions. I think for people to find out, do I need to build this myself or not, you have to start with who am I? What is the maturity level on security in our organization? How well are we functioning? And what do we actually need to build this capability? What is it? To understand what a SOC actually is. And a SOC is 24/7. Can I build that? Can I have that in my organization, or should I buy that? And should I rather build a CERT? Maybe that's what you need. The more the analyst capability internally, and the SOC can be as a service. That also is a combination. So it's a lot of variety here.
For our audience, would you just explain what is the difference between a SOC and a CERT?
Well, that again, I think depends on the company and how you have looked at it. In Telenor Norway, a SOC is where we have the monitoring capability. It's the 24/7 organization. We build detection capability and monitoring when things happen, either with internally at Telenor Norway or with our customers. We do alerts and do the initial triage if there are some incidents that we actually need to, all that alerts we need to look into. And if we think this is quite severe, then we take it to our CERT, where we do have analysts with more technical skills or more analyst skills, which also work with threat intelligence and is more on that arena, and then again can support the organization in how to handle the incident. Because incident handling is a very important part of the CERT, not only the analyst part, but also advisory to the organization in which steps do we now take. It might be a quick fix, but it might also be not a quick fix, but you have to do a long-term incident handling. Long-term, it could be weeks, or it could be months, or it could be a year. And then it's the CERT who does that support to the organization.
Right. Because you touched a very important topic of like, even if the organization were to outsource the SOC services and capabilities for detection and for the alerts, right? You still recommend the certain part of the operational functionality should still be within the organization. The organization should still have security to understand, okay, when this information comes from the SOC, what does it mean for my business? What is the level of risk and impact it will have on my organization based on what I'm protecting? What do you recommend? What are the key elements to that part, that part that still has to stay within the organization? What do you think are the key elements that should be in the place for the business and the organization?
Well, the ability to manage the security incident. So you need to have a security incident manager. You need to have a core team that understands your infrastructure, your systems, your dependencies. And that, of course, need to be a part of the crisis management organization in your company. So that's you have to start with the security function. You need to have a security manager, of course. It depends on the size of the organization. And as we defined it, you need to have a security incident management team, which has a reporting to either the crisis management team or to a set of critical functions like the CEO, the chief security officer. It could be the technical officer. It depends how you have set up your organization. So when you can have one incident management team, or you can have several. It depends on the severity of the incident, or if you have more than one security incident at a time.
Another aspect that you touched as well was the threat intelligence. So what role does threat intelligence play in SOC services or in building these or managing security incidents?
I think key is to be aware of what's going on at any time, and as SOC and a CERT, as we have it at our end, they have information about threats, both from which we buy from vendors. There are relevant vendors that can support you on that, and then also we have our own. And that's the information for ourselves, so that we can build detection mechanism. But it's also information we use towards our customers and internally to the organization, so they can be aware of what they need to do when it comes to vulnerability management and such things. But we differ quite between threat intel and intelligence, because we also work a lot with intelligence to understand the threat actor, build the threat picture. That is also an important part to understand who are we actually working against, and what could be their possible intention. Why is we a target, or why is the customer a target? And that is also an important part. So not only like the threat intel in traditional vulnerability sense, but also the intelligence and understanding the threat actors. So both elements are important.
So combining all these together, so we talked a bit about, so obviously we're talking in a large sense about building cyber resilience. And obviously, as you said, it takes time. It's not something that you can build in one day or even in a few months. It usually takes, it's a phase-wise approach that you need to take. And we talked a bit about threat intelligence, SOC, and CERT, and how these functions can be either built internally, which obviously can be costly, can be expensive based on what your needs and what the capabilities are, or it can be kind of like a hybrid model where you still have a security governance in place, security incident management in place, and then you can use SOC services to complement and enhance basically your security function and provide value to your business. Based on these things, what do you believe are what would be your key predictions for the next years to come in terms of how organizations think about cyber resilience, about using threat intelligence for better positioning and defending themselves against cyber threats, for example?
It's not easy to look into the future and say it will be like this, but I think acknowledgement of security is quite high, at least in the Nordic, and we do have, I would say, awareness. Seen from awareness perspective, we are mature. That doesn't say that we are mature when it comes to how to approach it internally and how to work with it. But I think that more and more we'll work with the proactive focus, with the modernization, with vulnerability management as part of that, improving the processes, and then as part of that also saying what kind of detection mechanism do we need, what kind of logging mechanisms do we need, and understanding that being able to handle an incident, be in forefront of that is a key. So more and more of the big companies at least are in that position now that they understand they need to do it. It's more a discussion on the approach, the way to do it. Do it yourself, do it with partners. What can we actually get from our IT provider? What do we need to add to that? And then is of course the investment need you also have to have. So I think we understand what we need to do more and more. But it's finding the right way to do it. It's the next step now. But I think we're quite well. There's been so many, you can say, huge incidents the latest years that we do understand that we need to approach this in another way than previously years. So yeah.
Right.
But
right.
finding the right way, and as part of that. Investigation on SOC and CERT internally or externally is a key, I think.
So based on, because you, as you said, you have built SOC internally as well in Telenor, and you've been a part of this whole process. Can you maybe just give an example of what was one of the biggest challenges that you faced in building SOC capabilities in Telenor?
Well, when it comes to SOC, I would say we was lucky because we bought a company, a small one, but that was back in 2003, before my time. So, and then so when I started, I already had that in place. But it was about building the monitoring strategy was actually the key for us. What does monitoring actually means? What do you need of not only a traditional SOC with the existing monitoring capacity, but what you need to build of further detection capabilities and log capabilities. And for Telenor Norway, we used about a year to build the strategy for monitoring and incident handling. Just to find out what do we need to build. And then we made a 5-year plan to build it. And we also with a good guesstimate on what it would cost. A lot of money. But we needed to anchor that this is not a short-term investment and you're not finished. And during this 5 years, we have not reached so far as we said, but that is because we have also expanded this to support our sister companies internationally. But we are still on that roadmap, and the understanding is still there that we need to build and develop and get more insight into the whole infrastructure. We have a big infrastructure, of course, but it takes time to build that insight. It's not about placing one sensor at the internet gateway and then you're happy. You have to have a lot of different kind of tools to actually be able to see if you are compromised. So and that is also a part of building the understanding of what this actually is. I think a lot of companies can easily say that we need this and start building, and then they understand that this is not as easy as it might be if you just look at SOC. What is that? Is something like IT do an operation? Well, it's not about that. It's about competence. I think you underestimate that you need security experts. You need to nurture that expertise and build that over time also. And keep the good people too and develop the people. This is an area where it doesn't stop. You need to be curious and you need to build competence every day actually. something new is happening. So, and also when it comes to technology, I think what we also did was saying that when we start this investment, we will also test tools, test technology. And if we don't find it, maybe it's okay for a year, and then we say that it's not okay anymore. We need to try something else. That was also a part of the strategy and the anchoring and the decision, so that we had a lot of flexibility in the program, not having to anchor every decision. So we have been quite agile in our way of thinking. We have tested, it doesn't function, okay, we take a new, and then so. Doing this is about it's not like you have a square where everything is you know what you have and you know what to build. You build something is quite clear and something isn't clear at all.
And what you say here is actually kind of my experience as well. A lot of organizations are scared of taking that first leap sometimes, not because they don't underestimate or they underestimate the competency that's required, but sometimes they are scared because they want a perfect solution. And people try to, and I've seen that in many organizations, people try to go like, no, we wish a perfect tool, a perfect solution. And since that doesn't exist, there's so much internal politics on what is perfect. And then you never go for that. And I think that flexibility of trying something for a year and saying, okay, if it doesn't work, then using the learnings from it and going forward, that is an approach that I've seen in very few organizations. And I can also really agree with you on that one, that yeah, it makes a lot of difference, because perfect will never exist, and you will never build your security or any kind of function within your organization in terms of security or resilience that will be 100% perfect. And also part of the reason, which I believe, and I would like to hear your thoughts on it as well, is that the needs of the organizations also develop over time. So what you needed today might not be exactly what you need in 2 years.
Yeah, because your technology changes, I would say your understanding and competence also change, and the threat actors change their methods. So it's a lot of things that change over time when it comes to security, and you need to have that ability to adjust your processes,
Correct.
adjust your tools. But of course, there are stability too. So some of these tools, of course, we will have them over time, and it's not like we're changing everything, but having the possibility and the flexibility, it's very important. Yeah, but yeah, what should I say? Also, one other thing that has been very important for us is the top management. I would say they have given us, they have understood that this is an area where they haven't the expertise. They don't know this as professionals, and they understand that they also have to trust the professional in this area. And that is also key when it comes to anchoring and being able to establish such a program and run such a program, that you have that trust from your top management. So you have to also bridge the communication to the top management. That this is yeah. So that's a key when you are starting the process, at least.
Right. Makes sense. I think it's very important, as you said, to invest in competency as well, because a lot of this, as you said, is strategy and understanding what we want to build, not so much as just buying the tools and all that homework that you need to do around what we want to do, how we want to do for the 1 year or for the 5 year, and then having the flexibility as well in case things change to be able to adjust and adapt to it, which is kind of also what the key aspect of cyber resilience is about, to adjust and adapt to changing environments, right? Fantastic. Would you like to just sum up your overall message to businesses or organization? What would be just one key thing that you would like to say?
I would say that we started resilience. So I think that to build a cyber resilient organization, you need to understand your security maturity level. You have to start with that. and then how you need to approach building the necessary organization, competence, and functions needed. You can't just start. You have to work some part with the maturity part. And the CERT, it cannot be functional without certain functions in place. So you need the interfaces and towards IT, interfaces to technology, and towards your vendors, and of course your security department. Either it's a part of it or not. So, and then of course CERT can be internally or it can be externally. I think that sums up what we've been talking about.
Fantastic. Thank you, Hanne. That was lovely. Do you have any recommendations for our audience? Would you suggest them to read related to security or in general?
I would like to promote, actually, Telenor Group has made a document and recommendation about security operations and both when it comes to needed function internally and how to build a SOC. So at telenor.com you will find a good document from Eirik Kvarvåg. So maybe start with that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Hanne. It was lovely to have you on the podcast today. We learned a lot about what challenges you faced and what an amazing job that you have done over time building the SOC services. So thank you for coming on the episode.
Thank you, Monica.
So that was today's episode of We Talk Cyber with Monica. Thank you for tuning in. We talked with Hanne about cyber resilience. Please continue tuning into other episodes as well, and I'll be back with fantastic guests, amazing conversations on all things cyber. Until then, take care and stay safe.
Thanks for tuning into We Talk Cyber with Monica, a platform for engaging discussions and expert opinions on all things cyber. Check out more information and episodes on monicatalkscyber.com. Do not forget to subscribe to Monica Talks Cyber on YouTube and Instagram, and follow us on Mon Talk Cyber on Twitter. Stay tuned, and we'll be back with more episodes very soon.